Okay, welcome to the second lesson in this beginning series. Follow along with us. Do play along, practice whatever it is we put out in these videos along with us. It's not just intended to watch and then go off by yourself. However, you do need to be able to do these movements by yourself as well. So find a way that you can practice while watching and then also practice without watching so that it becomes more ingrained and you don't just rely on watching the videos to be able to make the motions. We'll be working through stuff bit by bit, and feel free to ask us questions at any point during this whole process. Let's get back to the animals. We started with the animal frolics last time, and we'll start with them again today. So number one is the bear. You're standing feet a comfortable distance apart, feet parallel, toes in a line, and turning from side to side. So remember that the first principle of Tai Chi is to relax. So do less and stay soft and comfortable. We don't look for going to the absolute extreme of what you can do. If we go to the absolute extreme, then there isn't really flow. So make sure that you keep a little resilience, a little space, a little room to change. And don't worry about how far you turn. Pay more attention to keeping your shoulders riding with your hips so that the movement can be driven from the hips, waist, dantian, that's the space in the middle that we talked about last time. That's the motivation for all of this, is keeping the body together, unified, and turning the torso as a whole. So as you do the bear, the body is turning, your shoulders are just along for the ride, easy, comfortable, gentle, soft, feeling yourself moving through the air, and feeling your feet on the ground. So we talked about this point in the center. There's a couple of other points that we'll bring in today. One of them is the rear crown of your head. So we distinguish that from what we call the charm school place, which is having your head totally flat, and that's where you would balance the book. That's why we call it charm school. It's not that. Go ahead and try this with me and notice how that raises your chin a little bit. Now let your rear crown of your head be the one that's pointing up. That will bring your ears to point straight up, and it will release your chin a little bit. That is the position that you want your head to be in. Not because you hold your head that way, but it's as if you've got a big hook that's holding you up from this rear crown of the head, and you're hanging down from it. So that's the feeling that will help you get this idea of relax, that you're hanging, there's room inside the body, every joint has a little bit of space, and you've just been lowered to the ground with lots of room inside. So as you turn your body from the dantian, also become aware of a feeling of being held up from above, being lowered down to the ground so that every joint has space, and you're just moving comfortably without crunching and pushing yourself down to the ground. So nice and easy, relaxed, comfortable, hanging from that place at the rear crown of your head. Breathing and relaxing. Then there's another place to bring your attention to that's at the bottom of your feet. So as you stand here, you can become aware of the 3 weight-bearing bones at the bottom of your foot. They are heel, ball behind the big toe, and ball behind the little toe. That makes a tripod. As you stand on those 3 points, you want to keep them in equal contact with the ground. So as you turn, make sure that your feet are staying connected through all 3 of those points. In the center of them, the apex of your arch, is a spot that we call the bubbling well. That's where earth energy comes in and where you release your energy into the earth. So that spot is best found by getting yourself connected through those 3 points at the bottom of your foot. So as you do the bear, notice whether or not your feet roll. So if I go a little further than I can do comfortably, you can see that my foot is starting to peel up on the inside and it's rolling to the outside edge. I don't have all 3 points of the tripod in contact. So bring it back to where those 3 points are in contact, and on both feet, you want to stay in that place where all 3 stay in contact. If you're losing some contact, do less until you figure out what it is that's peeling your feet up and making them roll. This is how we connect to ground, so it's a fundamental piece of doing Tai Chi. So feeling your feet on the ground, feeling as if you've just been lowered to the ground from above through the rear crown of your head, and letting your dantian turn from side to side. So we'll do this for another moment, and then we'll move on to the tiger. Okay, so the tiger, let's do just the footwork first. Tiger starts with your feet in a V. Got all 3 of those points on each foot in contact before we start. And you're going to step out, put your weight on it, and bring the other foot in on the ball, and then change feet. Now the heel of the front foot can come up, but both points of the ball stay in contact. Back to the V, do the other side. First the heel, then the rest of the foot, back foot comes in on the ball, and change. Back to the V, step, change. Back to the V, step, and change. Once more, just with the feet, making sure that when you shift to one foot, the other one just follows along, and then it's right there for you to change into. Now let's look at what the arms do. So as you come into the posture, the first step, the arms come into a rounded space with your hands in fists. And then the arms open the claws as the arms rotate and the thumbs go down. So just do that again a few times. Round, open your claws. Rounded, open your claws. Round and open. Put it all together. Step out, arms come up, shift, change, open your claws. So what happens to the arms is coordinated with what's happening at your feet. So you come back to the V. As you step, your arms come up. As you change, the claws open. Gather and open. Stepping forward, opening your claws. Rounded arms, change feet. So coming forward, changing feet. Rounded arms, open claws. Trying to get everything to move as one together. Breathing, staying soft and relaxed. You don't need to take big steps. There's really nowhere to go. So just easy, soft, and comfortable. You might find that your breath naturally joins with your movement. And if that's happening, there'll be an inhale and exhale. Inhale as you expand and come forward. Exhale as you open your claws. Don't force this. If you're doing it exactly backwards, that's actually just fine. The thing you don't want to do is either hold your breath because you're busy thinking so hard that you stop breathing, or control your breath, which will make you hold your breath because you're trying to do the breath. Just let the breath be natural. But you might find that the whole thing flows a little better if you start on an inhale and let the exhale go with opening the claws. And one more round of the tiger. Okay, next up is the monkey. And you're going to get your hand ready. This is an important aspect of Tai Chi. We call it cross balance. As you step into this leg, the opposite hand balances out your shape. So get set up so that you don't have to think about it and you can just experience the cross balance happening. Coming forward, grab the fruit. Hand and foot. Extend, grab the peach. Extend and release. So this has a feeling of an extension through the body, not because you have to go somewhere that's uncomfortable, but a long line from the bottom of your foot out to your hand, and then a release to grab the piece of fruit. An extension and a release. And I want you to feel the cross balance. So when we do that this time, stop at the maximum extension. You're on one leg, the other arm is out, and now make sure you keep the ball of the back foot in contact. Now change arms so that the same leg that you're standing on, that's the arm that's out there, and it should feel like you're off balance. So change arms, feel how that balances you. Go back to the same side arm, feel that one-sidedness, and then come back to that nice feeling of cross balance. That's what we're looking for in Tai Chi, and that's why you want to do this move by keeping one arm and the opposite foot in when you get started. So one foot, opposite hand, reach and release. Change feet, change hand. Extend and release. Extend and release. And you can pay attention to your feet here. Make sure that when you go into your foot, all 3 points are in contact. The rear foot comes up on both points of the ball, and then you release, and it just kind of comes in without shifting the weight, ideally. So that brings us to another principle in Tai Chi, which is that we want to be able to hold all the weight in one leg at a time. So when you do this, the weight's in one leg. When you release the other leg and it comes in, it has not taken over and holding you up with some weight in it. So look for that feeling as well. The stability of the tripod is what's going to give you the ability to keep all the weight in one leg at a time. Make sure you get the setup before you make the motion, and then you won't have to think about which hand and which foot, and it will feel balanced and stable. And let's do a little bit more of this. Feeling the bottom of your foot out to the opposite hand, release. Feel the bottom of the foot you're standing on. As you shift, now feel the other foot. And we'll do one more round of this. Feel all 3 points of the tripod on the leg you're standing on. So I forgot to introduce our dog. That's Valerie. She'll make cameos throughout this filming. Okay, so now we're up to the deer. So this is a really critical shape in Tai Chi. Start with your feet in a V. We're going to just do the feet first. Bend your knees, sit onto one leg. I'm going to sit into my right leg. Step forward and a little to the side with the toes pointing straight ahead. Heel first, and then sit down into your front leg, bending your knee, bending your hip joint, and keeping the rear foot on the ground. Then come back and bring your feet back into a V. Change to the other leg. Step forward, step a little bit to the side, keeping your foot pointing straight ahead. Sit down onto your right leg with the knee bent and the hip joint bent and the rear foot connected to the ground. And back. Notice that when you step, I'm not immediately putting weight in it. If I step too far, now I've already committed some weight to this leg. So make sure that you step in a place where you don't have to commit the weight to that leg until you decide to shift. Sit forward and back out of that same leg a few times to get that feeling. You're in your back leg and the front foot is flat on the ground with all 3 points in contact, and you can move in and out of it. When you come into the front leg, the back leg is still full contact with those 3 points on the ground. So forward and back, and notice the feeling that the feet are pretty well planted on the ground. If you're having trouble, and when you sit into the back leg, the front foot starts rolling up, make the step a little shorter so that you don't have that problem. When you're in your front leg, if you're losing the back heel, same issue. So really look for that feeling. Now let's do it on the other side. Getting into the position where you can sit down. There's some space between your feet in each dimension, and both feet are on the ground connecting through the 3 points on each foot. And shift forward and back a little bit just to feel that, making sure that the distance that you've taken for your stance is one that you can move from one to the other and still keep the 3 points in equal contact. And now let's come back to the V, and we'll add in our antler arms and our little deer smiles. So as you sit into one leg, your hands start to kind of gather up this feeling, and as you come into the front leg, keeping your rear foot connected, you display your antlers. And now on the other side. And you're so pleased with yourself and your antlers and your little deer body that you have a little smile. The smile helps this move feel light and comfortable. So you can think of it as releasing a helium balloon, letting it have a lightness to it. And this stance and motion should not take you out of your back leg. Deer have 4 legs, we only have 2, so we have to really use both of them to keep ourselves on the ground. Gather and display your antlers. They don't have to go up on your head. We're special deer. Our antlers come out of the center of our chests. Notice that if you carry your hands too high, it can take you out of the ground in your back foot. So if that's happening, do less. Stay connected to the ground through both feet, and the arms just go where they need to be to support what's happening down below. Don't let the arms take you away from contact with the ground. And the goofy little deer smile. Easy, gentle. And one of the things this will do is get you used to finding the right place for your feet in this stance, which we're going to give you a little bit more Tai Chi stuff today that uses this stance. So be sure to use the deer to help you get used to this feeling. One more round. Okay. And the last one is the crane. Remember the crane's beaks that we make with the 4 fingers coming together to touch the thumb. And as you step out, your hands come up into the beaks and then open, bring them back, and close. Opening the wings, closing the wings. Opening the body. And closing the body. Expanding the mind to fill the whole space. Focusing the mind to return to your center. Keeping the back foot connected at the ball. Letting everything move together. So you may find that your breath, as you open your arms, expands your lungs, helps the air come in. And then as you focus and close your wings, you come back into your center. So, an inhale and an exhale. Again, don't force it, don't hold your breath to make it happen, but this one, because of the spreading of the wings, tends to be one where you can really feel that change in expansion and release of the lungs and the breath. So everything expands, your awareness, your wings, your breath, everything opens up, and then everything focuses back down. Opening and closing. Inhaling and exhaling. And if you have to do this at a different pace because of that, do it at your own pace. But do have the feeling of everything opening together and everything focusing together. And one more round. Okay, so that's the animal frolics. Do play around with them and pay attention to things like the bottoms of your feet, your top of the head. That's the beginning of bringing awareness to Tai Chi movement. So now we want to show you a new move. We will get into the move we taught you last time, but I want to show you another one first. And the way we're going to be doing this is that we give you these little movements, shapes and movements, postures, and how to get into them so that you start to get the feeling of being in Tai Chi postures. And then in a couple of weeks, we'll start linking them together, because there's two aspects to learning this practice. One is learning the shapes, the postures as we call them, and the other is being able to flow from one to another. So getting the idea of where you're actually aiming, the final posture, is an important step before we start linking everything together. So we're going to do the next move in the Tai Chi form. So just before we get into what the feet are doing, I want you to get this feeling of your arms. So bring your arms up to about center of chest height, not that high, and feel round. Feel like you're hugging yourself from behind, nice and round. Now, reach out. As you reach out, feel how that starts putting some tension across your shoulder blades and across your back. So we don't like to go to places that make us tense. So bring that back in, and then keep bringing it back in. And notice how that creates a different sort of tension across the chest and the front of the body. So come back to the place where you can rest comfortably. You don't have to use any extra effort, but there isn't tension either pulling you out or pushing in. We sometimes call this the Goldilocks place. So find your Goldilocks place. And then take your right hand and drop it down. As you do that, let the elbow be bent so that the hand doesn't just hang straight at your side, it actually has a little forward feel to it. This has been taught to us as having your hand on the head of a small child who's standing right in front of your leg. So that's the hand motion. Come back up here. Feel that. Find your sweet spot, your Goldilocks place, and then let the other hand down. And you can just change and come in and out of each side. Now what you want to feel with the one arm is a roundness, and it doesn't mean you have to make everything round. Let the wrist stay open. We call that beautiful lady's wrist. So let the wrist not kink in any direction, but do feel a sense like you're being hugged from behind, a nice rounded hug with the palm facing the body. Now turn your hand out and feel what that feels like. That's a different feeling. So you want to notice the difference between having your hand out and having your hand in. We want the hand palm to face in toward the body, so that all this space is like a space that you're enclosing. And do it on the other side. Get the same feeling, the feeling that your palm faces the body and there's a space in here that you're enclosing. Turn the hand out. Notice what that feels like. Come back to the place we want it to be. And now we're going to put this on top of the legs. So you're going to do the deer stance, which we call a 70-30, because you want 70% of your weight in the front leg, 30% in the back leg. And I've put my left leg forward. My left arm is going to come up high, not that high, just center of chest. The right hand will be resting on the head of a small child, out here in front of my right hip. So stand here a moment. Feel your feet on the ground. Both feet are connected through all 3 points of the tripod. Your body is upright with your head as if suspended from the rear crown, and the whole body is hanging down, and you're resting in a posture that we call Wardoff, like W-A-R-D, ward off. It's kind of a terrible name because I don't want to ward something off. I want to nurture what's inside, but that's what it's called. In Chinese, it's peng, which doesn't have a meaning in the dictionary. So I'm not sure how it became Wardoff, but that's what we call it. So now come back into a V, and I want you to step out with the other leg. Right leg forward, right hand is facing center of chest, left hand resting on the head of a small child, so that you can feel this on both sides. And just sit here a moment. One of the things we do in Tai Chi practice is take postures and hold them, not to hold them and be unmovable, but to be able to relax into it, to give ourselves time to feel the bottoms of your feet, to feel your belly soften and relax, to feel yourself suspended from above, to notice the quality in your arms, to notice if you're doing this and turning your hand out, or if you're doing this and nurturing the space in front of you. All these things give you some things to pay attention to when you take the posture. So rest your legs, and I'm going to turn this over to Lee now, and he'll get you moving in and out of the Wardoff position.
Okay, let's do some more. So let's look at these Wardoffs a little bit more. I want to get you first just stepping in and out of the final posture so that that becomes familiar, and then we'll look at a few of the details for getting there. So starting from the V, we always like to start from the V, and just do the footwork first. So just step forward with your left foot into a 70-30 and shift your weight forward. And then come back, bring the front foot back, shift to the left foot, step out with your right, shift into the 70-30, and come back. Step with the left, 70-30 forward, back. Step with the right, 70-30 forward, and come back. So take a break for a second. One of the things about starting with the V is that when you have this, my 2 feet are pointed out towards the 2 front corners. And when I step with my foot straight, pointing straight ahead, my feet are angled relative to each other. They're not parallel, they're at a slight angle. So I don't want this rear foot turned out at a harsh angle. I don't want to do that. And you can see how when I turned my rear foot out that way, it pulled my whole body over. And I would have to twist to actually get my belly button, nose, shoulders towards the front. So you want this to be comfortable. When you step and you come forward, we say this is the waist is square, your belly button is pointed straight ahead, you're pointed the same direction as your front foot, your shoulders are over your hips, there's no twist, and the 2 feet are slightly offset. So they're not at a big angle, they're not parallel, they're slightly offset. So you'll need to practice this. This is the basic Taiji stance. We call it a 70-30. Some people call it a bow stance, like a bow and arrow, because there's a bowing feel in the legs. But so you want to get really comfortable with this. So let's just do the feet another couple times, and then we'll add the arms in. So step, left foot forward, and shift forward. Both feet flat on the ground, feet are at angles, and back. Shift to the left, step with the right foot forward, shift into it. Waist square, feet are angled, both feet are on the ground. Once more on each side. Step with the left foot, and shift into it, and come back. Step with the right foot, and shift into it, and come back. Okay, now when you do this next couple times, put your hands in the final posture. So step, and as you come forward, let the hand that goes with your front leg be the Wardoff arm that's rounded. Let the hand that goes with your back leg be on the head of the small child. And just drop the hands as you come back. Step with the right foot, the right hand is up, the left hand is on the head of the small child. And do that once more on each side. Left foot forward, left hand high. Right foot forward, right hand high. Great. So when you're working with these videos at home and you're teaching yourself Tai Chi, go ahead and follow along with us as we're doing this, and then later that day or the next morning, try to do this stuff by yourself so that you're really remembering it. So run through the animal frolics. When we do it, for the first 4 or 5 classes, we will always start with the animal frolics. And because what we're trying to do with those is give you a basis to practice. You'll see this stance is exactly the same stance as in the deer. So when you're doing the animal frolics, you're practicing working on your 70-30 stance. And you'll see, as we teach you more of the form, you'll see a bunch of the shapes that we make in the animal frolics appear during the form. So as you work on the animal frolics, you're actually already teaching yourself how to move in Tai Chi. So when you practice on your own, start with the animal frolics and just do them. And we will start the first bunch of classes with those. That's your basis for practice. We said last time that you have to practice. Practice is never wrong. And so your task really for this first couple weeks is to develop a personal practice. And we're giving you the animal frolics for that, so that you've got a basis to do that, rather than teaching you one move and then the next class teaching you a second move, and then the third class teaching you a third move, which makes it really hard for you to find something to do at home. So we give you a bunch, we give you the animal frolics, and practice those all the time. Then we'll start teaching you the individual moves out of the form, and so you can work on those. So you can work on Wardoff here, and you can do that a couple times on each side, and then just try to get it. And then we'll always end every class for a while with the opening move, and we'll do this. This is really nice. It's a really nice end, and so you'll do that. So a nice practice for you is do the animal frolics. That'll take about 5 minutes. Work on the new moves. Do the little sequences that we're teaching you, just so you know them, and then close with the 3 threes for this. And that'll take you between 10 and 15 minutes total. It'll be teaching you bit by bit how to actually do Tai Chi, and it'll leave you feeling good. So that's the thing. If you do this and you walk out of there more relaxed and more centered and more connected to the ground, you're going to want to do it again. So really focus on that. Make this nice and fun, and then we'll teach you more and more as we go through it. So now I'm going to teach you something more on this. How do we actually get into Wardoff? So start out in the V, and what we're going to do is shift into one leg and make what we call a ball of air on that side, and when you get to the ball of air, step out with the other foot. And then do it on the other leg. Shift into the other leg, make a ball of air on that side. When you finish the ball of air, step out with the opposite foot. So a ball of air is when the two palms are facing each other. So there's a point in the heart of the palm. It's called the Lao Gung, or the Palace of Toil. We'll talk about it again. It's like the bubbling well in your foot. So the bubbling well in your foot is encompassed by the tripod. The heart of the palm is encompassed by the tripod of the palm, the base of the palm, and then the knuckles that are inside the palm. So right in there. So in a ball of air, the hearts of the two palms are right over each other. I'm not trying to cup and make my hands into the shape. The ball's just there. Like if I had a basketball, I could rest the basketball in one hand and I could put the other hand on top of it. I don't have to curve my hands. I've got a ball. So go ahead and have the ball. And when you do this, start in the V, shift to the right hand will be on top, the left hand will be on the bottom, and when you get the ball, step out with your left foot. Empty, no weight. Beth talked about having all your weight on one side or the other. We call the foot that has no weight empty. We call the leg that has weight full. The principle in Tai Chi is to separate empty and full so that it's not mushy. So the first principle is relax. Second principle is separate empty and full. So you're practicing this. So let's just do that first piece a little bit. We'll start by shifting to the right. Shift to the right hand is on top, ball of air, the left foot steps out. Come back to the V, now do it to the left. Shift to the left hand is on top, the right hand's on the bottom, the right foot steps out. Back to the V. Shift to the right, turn slightly to the right, ball of air, left foot steps out. Back to the V. Shift to the left, turn slightly to the left hand on top, right foot steps out. Once more on each side. Shift to the right, ball of air, right hand on top, left foot steps out. Shift to the left, ball of air, left hand on top, right foot steps out. Take a break. So I know there's a lot of right and left going on here, and that's one of the things that you're going to be teaching yourself over these next weeks and months and years. Everybody thinks they know what their right hand is and their left hand, but then as soon as we start doing this stuff, you're going to discover that, I don't know, somebody like glued a couple extra arms on me, and there's just, all this extra stuff. So just work with it. If you can follow us, we'll usually do this arrangement where one of us is facing you so you can see the front, and the other of us is facing the same direction you would be as you're looking at the screen. So you can copy Beth one side and then the other side. You don't have to try to reverse me, and I will be facing you so that you can see what I'm doing with my hands. So we'll do that so it gets easier for you to learn. Well, this is one of the things you have to spend time doing. That's part of why we do these really simple things. So now what happens after this? The one other thing I wanted to say is that when I shift to the right and make my ball of air, notice how I'm turning slightly to the right. Now my waist is faced to the right corner, not still square. I'm not just going like this, where I just moved my hands. I'm letting the body turn, takes me into that ball of air. I'm turned slightly to the right. When I do it to the left, I shift to the left, my body turns, my foot steps, I'm in the corner. So do this with me again and notice that turn. From the V, shift to the right, turn to the right, ball of air, right hand on top, left foot steps. Empty, no weight. And come back. Shift to the left, turn to the left, left hand on top, ball of air, right foot steps. Empty, no weight. Once more on each side. Shift to the right, turn to the right, ball of air, right hand on top, left foot steps. Back to the V. Shift to the left, turn to the left, ball of air, left hand on top, right foot steps. Okay, so I said this had to do with getting into Wardoff. And here's how it does. I start in the V, I turn, I have my ball of air, my foot steps, and then I shift forward, and when I shift forward, the hand that was on the bottom comes up and makes the ward-off rounded arm. The hand that was on the top drops to rest on the head of the small child. So the thing you're doing here is your hands have to move two different directions. When we did the deer, the hands move the same direction. When we do the tiger, the hands move the same direction. When we do the crane, the hands move the same direction. So those are a little bit easier. This is now a little bit more complicated. You have to have your hands going in two different directions. So do this with me. We'll do it a bunch. Shift to the right, turn to the right, ball of air, right hand on top, step out. As you shift, the top hand drops, the bottom hand comes up. Final posture, ward off. Waist square to the front, top arm that goes with the front leg has a rounded feeling. Back arm that goes with the back leg is resting on the head of the small child. Then come back to the V, just drop your arms. On the left, shift to the left, turn to the left, left hand on top, right foot steps, shift forward, hands switch, ward off. So we'll do this a bunch of times so that you get used to it. Shift to the right, step with the left foot, shift forward, left hand comes up, right hand drops. Back to the V. Shift to the left, turn to the left, left hand on top, right foot steps. As you shift forward, the bottom hand comes up, the top hand drops. Ward off. Again, repeating until this starts to become familiar. And continuing. One of the things you'll notice is that my hands move with my body. So when I get my weight forward and my waist square, the hands have reached their final destination. So I don't just move the hands first and then the body, or shift the body first and then the hands. Everything is moving together. Shift to the right, step with the left, bottom hand comes up, top hand drops. Back to the V. Shift to the left, ball of air, left hand on top, step with the right foot. Shift forward, bottom hand comes up, top hand drops. Couple more times. Teaching yourself how to do this. Once more on each side. Step with the left foot, shift forward, left hand high, right hand on the head of a small child. Back to the V. Shift to the left, turn to the left, step with the right foot, shift forward, bottom hand comes up, top hand drops. So that's actually the second move in the Tai Chi form. So now you know the first two. And it's called Wardoff, like Beth said, which is just a name. But it's this feeling of roundedness, full and expansive, and comfortable. Whatever you're doing, make sure you stay comfortable. Don't let this become something strained. Let this be comfortable, relaxed. Now, one of the things you may be noticing is that this is actually work and exercise, and your legs may get tired. And especially as we do some more of this, you'll start to feel like you're working out. If you went to the gym and worked out and lifted weights for an hour, you would feel tired afterwards. You're doing the same thing here. It's just under the cover of this nice, relaxed, gentle motion. And so you can fool yourself into not realizing that you're doing work. But you're lifting weights. The weight you're lifting is your own body. You're doing that as you do this. And when we have you hold postures and do this, fairly quickly your legs will get tired and you'll find that you want to stand up and take a break. Go ahead and take a break when you need to. If we're holding a posture longer than you're comfortable with, go ahead and take breaks when you need to. But when you feel like you need to take a break, first, rather than standing up and giving up, let go, release into it, and then take the break. So what you're teaching yourself is when it gets difficult, when it gets hard, rather than just giving up, you let go, and then you take a break. So you don't want to stand there after it's become a struggle. If I'm here and it is like, oh my God, when is this going to end? I don't want to spend any time there. I want it to be, this is wonderful and beautiful. And then when it gets too difficult, I say, wonderful and beautiful, and then I take a break. So keep yourself in that space of relaxation and ease, but don't be surprised as this starts to become work. With time, it'll make your legs much stronger. It'll make you understand how to use your body in an efficient way, which will make you effectively stronger. And your balance, your skill with relating to the ground, relating to the space around you, relating to other people, will all improve. I mean, that happens gradually, gradually, gradually. And along the way, you're going to discover places where it's difficult. When you hit one of those, try to relax. Try to let this be easy, at least on the outside, even if on the inside you're thinking, oh my God, this is crazy. So go ahead and let yourself do that. So let's do Wardoff a little bit more, and then we'll do the closing to wrap up this session. So from the V, sit on your right leg, turn to the right, ball of air, right hand on top, left foot steps. As you shift forward, top hand drops, bottom hand comes up. Come back to the V. Shift to the left, turn to the left, left hand on top, right foot steps. Shifting. Wardoff. Always the leg that your weight is in, that goes with the top hand. In Wardoff, there's other postures. Shift to the right, step. My weight's in my right leg, so my right leg's on top. As I shift forward, my weight goes into my left leg, so my left hand is on top. Back to the V. Shift to the left, my weight's in the left, so my left hand's on top. Step with the right. As you come forward, the weight goes in the right leg, the right hand is high. Couple more times. Really feeling what's happening. Okay, once on each side. Shift to the right, right hand on top, left foot steps. As you shift, the hand switch. Back to the V. Shift to the left, turn to the left. Left hand is on top, right foot steps. As you come forward, the hand switch. Wardoff. Okay, great. So Beth said this, I'll say it again. Ask us questions. So email us, text us, post something on the YouTube video. Ask us questions because we're not able to be in the same space with you at this time. So we're not able to see what you're doing and answer the questions that you might not be verbalizing. And we're certainly not able to say, hey, does anybody have any questions, and respond to things. So go ahead and ask us questions. We love them. We'll respond to them. Depending on the timing and how it works out, we may just answer the question in the next video. We may give you an email and respond to it. But we'll do that. So go ahead and feel free. We talked about we're doing this for on a donation basis. So whatever you feel like you can donate, great. If you're not donating anything, that doesn't mean you can't ask questions, because we really care about sharing this art. So if you're doing this and your personal situation is such that the donation you're making is your effort in doing this, that's great. Don't be shy about asking us questions. Go ahead and do it. And I want to share this art with you because it's a beautiful, amazing human achievement, and so we're trying to help you get to that. Understand that it will take some time. It is a challenging art to practice. It also gives you some immediate benefits. You'll feel better right away. So go ahead and let it take time. You're going to grow into this, but as you're letting yourself explore the art more, enjoy each minute. So do your practice in the morning because you like it, not because I must become an enlightened being in the next 37 days. Do it because it's fun. It makes you feel good. So give yourself the gift of practice. And for now, a good practice is to run through the animals, do the moves that we're showing you. So for right now, you'll have Wardoff left. And do that for a few minutes. We'll show you a couple more of these sequences before we start stringing it all together. So then do those sequences. And then finish with the 3 threes of the opening move. That's a really nice grounding, closing move. And so go ahead and give yourself that. That'll take about 10 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes right now. Of course, you can spend longer, but it's actually way more important to spend that 10 minutes consistently than it is to do a long time one day and then not the next day. So just be gentle with yourselves, learn it bit by bit, and you'll like it. So we're going to close with the 3 threes of the opening move. I'll talk you through it, and Beth will be facing the same way as you. You won't get to see her arms, but for the legs, you can do her legs. So start in the V, shift your weight to the right, step laterally to the left, shift to the left. As you do that, your body will open slightly to the right, turn back to the front, pivoting on the heel of the right foot, shift 50-50 and stand up. You should be in the bear stance now. Go ahead and fix your feet if they're not a comfortable distance apart, if you don't have the toes in a line, and if both feet aren't pointing straight ahead. Now the opening move 3 times. The arms are here at your side. Totally relax, let them come up, the wrists are bent, and then straighten the arms out, feel out to your fingertips. Slide the hands back as if they were coming back on an invisible tabletop. When they reach your body, let the elbows slide behind you, the wrists drop, the fingers point up, and then the hands come down with the wrists gradually straightening. That's 1. A second. Let the arms float up, wrists relaxed, and feel out to your fingertips. Hands slide back on the invisible tabletop. Arms rebalance so the fingers point up. Wrists straighten as the hands come down. 1 more time. A long curve from your feet out to your fingertips. Your hands slide back on the invisible tabletop. The elbows slide back, the wrists drop, the fingers point up. The wrists gradually straighten as the hands come down. And now close, back to the V. Sit onto your left leg and turn the right foot out on the heel. Shift into the right leg. Bring the feet together. Back to the V. Voila. 1 out of 3. Second one. Shift to the right. Step laterally to the left. Shift your weight to the left. That'll open the body to the right. Turn to the front, pivoting on the right heel. 50-50 and stand up. 3 times with the arms. Feel as if you're expanding and filling the whole space. As the hands come back, focus in your dantian. As the arms rebalance, feel the space above you. As the hands come down, feel down to the ground. A second time. Expanding to fill all the space, coming back into your center. Feeling the vertical space above you, feeling down to the ground. Once more. From your feet out to your fingertips and beyond, filling the whole space. Everything comes back into the center. Vertical space above, connect down to the ground. And close. Sit in the left foot, turn the right foot out on the heel. Shift into the right, bring the left foot in, back to the V. 1 more time. Sit on the right leg, step with the left. Shift to the left, body opens to the right. Turn the right foot on the heel. 50-50 bear stance, stand up. 3 times with the arms. I won't talk, just enjoy it. Once more. And close, back to the V. Great. So now you've done Tai Chi at least 2 hours. You've practiced the animals a number of times, so you can start to feel familiar with those. We've shown you the opening move. We've shown you the second move in the form. And keep at it. Ask us questions, and importantly, keep practicing. And we will be back real soon.